Hi and welcome back to the Benviaje Life and welcome to our new video which is entitled Obedience in Service. Ayan. And the inspiration for this video came from the book of Matthew chapter 4 verse 18 to 20. This is when Jesus encountered the two brothers, Peter and Andrew, and he asked them to join him in this mission and that he will teach them to be fishers of man. And I was very inspired by this verse because this was a time that when Jesus was the one asking these two brothers to come and join me in his mission, to be in service with him in fulfilling his mission. So I hope you enjoy this video, and may you be blessed today.
Chapter 1: Definition of Service.
For me, service is the next level that you will need to take when you are establishing a relationship with God. I always believe that for you to move forward with your faith, the next step will be service. That will be the phase 2 of your faith, to actually put God's love in action. And in my case, I always define service as a continuation of God's love, of God's work here on earth. Let me make that clear. Service to me is a continuation of God's work here on earth. And I've always believed that that is service, and that everybody is called to serve. Everybody is called to serve and to be in the same business as God's business, which is God is in the business of loving. And so by loving, we need to take action. And that's where service comes in. If you belong in a community, or you belong in a church group, I believe that in joining this group, you will be asked to do your service, and you can serve how many ways you can. I've learned that in service you can serve using the 3 T's, which is talent, treasure, and time. I always believe na lahat ng tao can either have one of the 3, 2 of the 3, and you're very lucky if you have 3 of, or you have all. And the reason why God provided that to you, why God gave that to you, is for you to use it in your service. Because service is, like what I've said, a continuation of God's work here on earth.
Chapter 2: Introduction to Community.
My story about how I entered into, or how I established a relationship with Jesus came way back when I was still in high school, where I was my aunt introduced me to a community of young teenagers. Ayan, we went through what we call a YFC youth camp, and it was 3 days and 2 nights, and it had the talks, it was fun, it had food, it had some sharings. At first medyo I was nahihiya, and I was aloof about sharing my life. But I loved the place. I remember we had games, and I remember getting to know new people, and getting to see new faces, and getting excited in knowing them. um, 3 days, 2 nights, and on the last night, I remember on the second night we had a baptism, and it, it was said that if you want to commit, you would stand up, you know. And since everybody stood up, I was actually forced. I've actually forced myself na tumimik din and commit. I said, well, what can I lose, diba? So I did.
Chapter 3. Prayer Meeting Household.
And after we got out there and attended the first prayer meeting, and was very excited. Was very excited. It was a Sunday. It was held in a school, in a schoolroom. But I was actually excited to see my batchmates, and we were telling stories, and we were sharing. We were saying hi, and it really felt like I was really welcome. And that first prayer meeting, the second one came in, the third one came in. We started having households, and I started to like community life. I thought we were just hanging out and having to meet new friends and developing our relationship with them. But I think God has a real way of connecting and introducing Himself and the relationship that He wants with you through a relationship with knowing the friends that you like. Alam nyo, when I was young, I remember that there was this mixtape. There was a mixtape, and it was a teaching. Some preacher who was saying that nobody has ever seen Christ at that time in the New Age. Nobody has ever seen Christ. But if you live like Christ and you want to establish a relationship with Christ, then you will see Christ in the people that you love and in the people that you will surround yourself. And so funny because in community, the people that I met became the Jesus in my life. I became accountable to a brother and a sister. I tried, straightening up my life, and I could really say that community was the one that straightened me out. I was never a nice kid. I was never a straight A guy. I was never like that. But through community, binago niya ako. It changed me because community became almost my whole life, my whole teenage life. At school, I will see them. Sometimes sila na rin yung nagiging barkada ko. I hang out with them, and the encouragement was always to do good, and how is your prayer time, and halika, sama ka sa amin, we'll serve, or we'll go to a prayer meeting, or we even sometimes hang out and someone will take out the guitar and will start playing a worship song, and we'll start singing, and after a while we'll just keep on singing and singing, and then we'll really start worshiping. And in some ways I realized that, hey, I can still have fun without doing foolish things. That there's good clean fun, and you can enjoy good clean fun, and that's a very wonderful thing to me. That's what the community brought me. It started developing me to become a better version of who I am.
Chapter 4. A Calling to Service.
After a while, after after a while of growing with my fellow batchmates, um, and with my household, we started to be called to do service. We were given development talks, where this is how you will serve, this is how to do a talk, and this is how a youth camp is done. So we started getting into that training. And the reason why I wanted to attend was that my friends are there, and it's a one way we can call as a service to God. And so ma- I started committing on those trainings, and then suddenly, um, slowly, they would ask me to like serve in a youth camp. Like, okay, you will be in charge of arranging the chairs and making sure that our time, that we follow the schedule and the time. That was the most minimal service, and it was okay with me because it's service and I get to serve with friends. I started off that way, but then I started becoming a facilitator. We call that a facilitator, where you handle a team in a youth camp. And then after that, I started, giving out talks, and I started to become a sharer first, and then I started out giving out talks, from being a sharer to a speaker, and then eventually I was called to a different type of service. I was asked to serve the kids for Christ and have their kids camp, you know, and I started to lead people, and I started to lead the whole youth camp. And I always say yes because the culture is that you can't say no. You know, um, in the culture of YFC, the culture is that when you are called to service, you have only one response, and that is a yes.
Chapter 5: Elevating Service Through Mission.
And as I grew further in service, I wasn't anymore serving in just my cluster, but I was actually being asked to serve in different parts of the province of Batangas, where I belong. And sometimes we will go. I remember my very first mission. And there was a mission to go to a place in Mindoro to help the very first youth camp in Mindoro. And I was one of the people who was chosen to go on that mission. Um, it was my very first, and so I know how to run a youth camp. I know how to give. I know how to share. I know how to. I've run a youth camp myself, and that's okay, But this I run it in different, like in our cluster in Batangas City and somewhere in Bawan, but I never had to actually go on a mission where you actually have to go and ride a boat and go to an island where I'm expecting that. I don't know what to expect of the people there. Will they be cooperative, and will they listen? How many will be in the youth camp? And when I got there, my 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 expectations was very far off from. I mean, it was a normal people. Some of them are even studying and living in Batangas, but their mom and dad lives in Mindoro, and so and then service was easy. It was okay. I remember giving. I was the first talk in that camp, and my talk was God's love, and it was very, very. It went on very smoothly, and the part of the mission that I was very surprised is that we have what we call in between breaks, we will have no breaks because we have to go on um, a meeting of, okay, your talk was great, they responded like this, and we were discussing how they are responding and what we can do better, because in missions, of course, yes, you follow a schedule, but you have to actually tweak sometimes what you will do so that you still gain their interest, and that you make sure that you are really projecting Jesus to them and that they are really seeing Jesus in you. So we have those meetings, and then you know what the funny thing is, that it was so exciting that we never really felt that it was tiring. It was never tiring. I guess the advantage is that you're serving with friends. You go to a mission, and you go to a mission with friends, and I guess it's lighter that way. And I guess God designed it that way so that you know that it is not going to heavy. It is not going to be heavy. That it is not going to be work. It is going to have the 4 F's. You know, like you go there, and you will have you'll never feel alone, and that someone will always be there to assist you if you need help. You know, and that was great.
Chapter 6: Challenges in a Mission.
We go on other missions. I discovered that sometimes you have support for a mission. Sometimes there are mission. You will be called to a mission where you actually have to pay for your own fare, and then you will have to sacrifice because you have to bring your own food. Yeah. Because after my first mission, somehow, you know, it became, I guess yun na yung part where nagbo-boom na sa ang CFC, nag-grow na ang CFC Youth for Christ all over Luzon and the Visayas, and I believe even in the Mindanao at that time. And so we were being asked to go on a mission left and right, and from one mission to another, from one request to another, from the connections that I made, from the people that I met from my other batches that I've met, they call us. And may mga challenges sa pagiging mission. Sometimes you don't want to go to a mission because you're tired. You know, 5 days of school, and at Friday night you actually have to leave. You don't get to rest or play because you are called to give out a talk on a Saturday afternoon. So Friday night you actually have to travel to that place, and you know, they will not give you an allowance. No, they will not. You know, when you are called to service, mag-iipon ka pa ng ipapamasahe mo, and sometimes ipapangkain mo. Sometimes dumadating sa ganon. You know, you go there and you give out whatever service they ask you to do. Mine, normally I'm asked to give out a talk. Pero there are challenges. There are definitely challenges in serving. And sometimes isa sa mga challenges is that sometimes tinatamad ka. You know, you have to choose between an event in the family and a mission that God is calling you. And for some weird reason, it was easier for you, though it is hard in your heart and heavy that you want to be with your family for a celebration. You have to say, I can't go because I need to go to this place to give out a talk. You know, and sometimes I even minsan humahabol ako. I try very hard because very hard to follow. Kasi after my mission, then I rush back to Batangas or where the family celebration is and try to join them. But when you're there, you're tired. But you know what? It's all worth it. Of all the challenges that you encounter in your service or in service, it actually gives you growth, you know, in your service. And alam mo, sabi nga nun namin There was a point na sobrang napapagod na kami. Pero nag-uusap-usap kaming mga brothers na sabi namin na kahit nakakapagod, kahit nakakasawa, kahit minsan masakit na, kung yun yung magbibigay ng glory kay God, we will do it. Diba? We will do it. Kasi we were doing it for our love of God. Para sa pagmamahal namin sa Diyos. Because it is God's service. It is service to God. And so, we do it. We do it. And sometimes when we're down, we are given the encouragement from the same brother na, bro, it's okay. It's okay. You still say yes, and I will support you. I guess God has His ways. God really has His ways on making it easy, even though it is hard. When you're doing His business, which is the business of loving. After finishing college, I believe I graduated 2000, and like any college graduate, I have no clue of what the world is doing. And so, I was so confused kung saan ako magtatrabaho, ano ba talagang gagawin ko. And so, I decided that since I have service, I was active in my community, why not make it full-time? So, nag-consult ako sa brother ko. And I was advised na, well, kung wala ka naman talagang gagawin, and you feel that you love to do service, why not try to pray for it and see if God is calling you to full-time work. So, I did that. I had a discernment, and wala talagang lumalapit sa aking trabaho eh. And so, I decided to go one day, just go to the office to the mission office, and ask the head, our CFC head, and tell them that I wanted to do full-time work. So it was easy because he said yes. Sabi niya, oh, that's great. We are starting the GK, and we've already picked a site, and we don't have a full-time. And I guess you'll be working as a full-time mission worker for GK.
Chapter 8, GK, My First Steps.
Masayang-masaya ako that that would become my work, but at the same time I was worried because I actually have no clue of what to do. I don't know what. I have an idea of what GK is. It's work with the poor, but I have no clue of community building. I have no clue on how to start a relationship with the people with strangers in a relocation area, which by the way is one of the dangerous places at that time. And so, and I didn't have a clue of what to do. Don't have as if meron, it doesn't come with a manual. Back then we didn't have a manual for GK. It was okay, we'll do it, we'll try to do it one step at a time. And me, I have no clue, but that was my service. Now I serve. My service is not anymore once or twice a week or every weekend. Sometimes one of the 5 weekdays. No, when you're a full-time worker, technically it's just 5 days, but it is 7 days. Like you eat, breathe, and think service, because you're a full-time worker, and you're working for, well, of course, you're working for a ministry, but you are a community, but you are working for the Lord. And working for the Lord is non-stop. Ayan. So, I started my work in GK, and like what I've said, no clue. So, the first time that I went to that GK site, I wore my YFC shirt, of course, and I brought a Bible, and I a scapular, and I was a bit scared, not gonna lie, you know, not gonna lie, medyo scared ako, kasi I don't know what type of people, you know, they're not people in a community, and so, but I went, because I need to know, you know, I need to feel it, so I went there, and started to feel it. I don't know how to start a conversation with a complete stranger, but you know, I went there, and I saw the situation, and I started to get a little bit comfortable, because the people were nice. Well, the kids were nice. You know, kuya, penging piso, bili mo kegdi. You know, it started out like that, like a small banter. They knew that I was a stranger, but ganun sila eh, that's culture there. And so, from there, they started asking my name, you know, from asking to buy them candies, they started asking my name, they started to introduce me to their other playmates, and nakakatuwa because these people who had nothing were sharing their lives, starting to share their lives to me. Unti-unti nila akong pinakilala sa kaibigan nila, sa kalaro nila, sa kuya nila, sa ate nila. Yung iba, pinapakilala ko sa magulang nila. Of course, it doesn't happen in one day. You know, after going there once, I started coming back in, and I started, you know, trying to know the people that's there, and I started to actually like it, you know. So, nung may mga kaibigan na ako na mga teenagers at mga bata, they follow me. Kasi I go there, and nagdadala ako ng tinapay, ganyan, or nakikipagkwentuhan lang naman ako. They tell me stories, and I listen. You know, and that's what I did. I didn't do much. Like, minsan nga, ang sweldo ko pa, well, we didn't have salary, we have like an allowance. That is sort of like, quote-unquote, your sweldo. Pero, dun ko siya na-spend. You know, pag may sweldo ng konti, magpapakain ako ng konti. Because that's the only way I can speak with them. You know, pag may merienda kami, and tatambay kami dun sa daan or somewhere, and then we'll start chatting, and hindi sila nauubusan ng kwento, and I was just listening and listening to them. And
Chapter 9: The Miracle Called GK.
Sunod na nangyari is that after having a relationship with these people, the connection, I started inviting friends from the community. Ayan, and then I bring them there, and I introduce them there, because I was starting to, you know, I was needing volunteers, and then I was reporting, and okay, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to establish. So my first mission was to actually have a youth camp in that place. You know, started to have a youth camp in that place. So I started taking volunteers, asking friends to come with me, and if they like it, I am asking them to volunteer for a future plan of a youth camp. You know, and it was hard at first, but it started to become easy, because there are a lot of people who are really in the work for, or being called to the service. You know, ang lagi ko lang namang hinihiling is tataas ko ang aking mata sa langit, and I will say, Lord, this is your work, and I need volunteers, and He'll provide me volunteers. Lord, I need speakers for to make a youth camp successful, and the youth camp came through, and there were many who volunteered in the youth camp. It was not our usual youth camp because uh, these young teenagers, some of them are, they have jobs already, so they have to leave early and then come back in the afternoon and then continue with the account, so they might miss some talks. And so what we will do is we will have someone ready to, re-echo the talk and give him the talk, and give him the questionnaires, and pray with him. So it was a very unusual youth camp. It was not a normal youth camp, but that was, that was a youth camp that God prepared, and it came out as a successful one. And second was the kids camp. We had a kids camp, and it took time, but we were able to do it as well. It was very good. The funds came in so smoothly kasi we needed food, we needed sponsors for the food, we needed the speakers to come there, and God provided this. And then we have volunteers who are willing to stay in and have that overnight, and on the night they would, I would even speak with the volunteers. So how's your experience serving here? And some even say, you know what, after this camp, I want to do it every weekend. And I was touched because I didn't call them. God touched their heart, and they volunteered. I had 2, I had 3, all before you know it, I have a whole 12, I believe it was 12 people, young people, who decided that no, I will give up my service in the community to serve in GK. And so the team was formed, and they were very committed in what we wanted to do, because it was hard. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's okay, because I guess that's how it was. That's how God decided it will be.
Chapter 10. God's Win, that is GK.
So after the service team was completed, sumunod na rin yung direction para sa gagawin sa site. We now have at least mas malinaw na plano on what we are going to do, our next steps para gawin ang GK sa site na yun. And of course, in every project there is funding. And funny enough, the funding became the easiest part. I guess yung pagmamahal kasi laging nandiyan yun eh. And if it's a work if it's God's work, the fund will always follow you. It would be in my case, it was the easiest one to gather kasi I had help. And all throughout, naging maganda ang GK. I remember our Christmas party, na doon talagang naramdaman ko na talagang there is an actual change sa buhay ng mga tao. Kasi kung dati wala silang pakialam, ngayon nagkaroon sila ng genuine na pakialam to participate. They participated in the Christmas party, naggawa pa ng mga program doon, and itong mga tao to, they were there not just to serve but to enjoy as well. And at that time, everybody was celebrating, nagpapalakpakan sa mga program na ginawa namin. But I remember I was at the back, way back, and I was seeing, and I was just looking at what has transpired and what change it is na itong mga tao to nagbago. I remember, I look back at the first time na pumunta ako dun sa site na yun, na takot ako at kinakabahan, hanggang sa ngayon na laging excited akong pumunta dun at pagbaba pa lang ng jeep, nandun pa lang ako sa entrance. Ako na yung siga na bumabating, oh, kumusta kayo dyan? It came to that point where it was not a dangerous place anymore. But it was one of the safest places that I go to. Because GK was there. Because God's work was there. Because God was there. And I remember nung una kong punta, there was a young girl na nakausap ko, and ang itinanong niya sa akin, sabi niya, "Kuya, hanggang kailan kayo dito?" Sabi ko, "Ha? Hanggang kailan ka na pupunta dito at imimit kami?" Sabi ko sa kanya, "Bakit? May iba na ba nagpunta?" Marami nang nagpunta dito, mga nagba-Bible study din, nagpapalaro, nagmi-meet sa kanila, pero lahat daw ng mga taong yun nawala din. So parang nasanay na siya na pansamantala lang talaga yung si Jesus Christ bumibisita sa kanilang lugar. And so I didn't know how to answer it at that time. Basta ang natatandaan kong sinagot ko sa kanya is that maaring ako umalis, pero laging may papalit at laging merong pupunta rito. Marami kang makikilalang mga ate at kuya na nandito sila, lagi mo silang makikita. Pero I knew that kulang yung sagot ko. Kasi for the first time I could not answer that question, you know. And so here I am at the back of a celebration of a Christmas party, and I saw that girl. I remember seeing that girl and she was so happy. And alam mo yung mukha ng naniniwala siya na hindi lang pansamantala si Jesus sa kanilang lugar, but rather Jesus is here to stay sa buhay niya, sa lugar niya. It was one of the best moments in my life, and that was so good to me, you know, that God has used me as an instrument to do His service para ipakita na mahal ako ng Diyos at mahal kayo ng Diyos.
Chapter 11. My greatest yes to service.
So after all the success in GK, and you know, marami nang nag-serve, and nakaramdam ako ng isang feeling that I tried to resist, you know. Nakaramdam ako na I'm not needed anymore sa GK. Sure, I still go there, I still oversee, but the work is being done by other people. And marami na yung mga the service team was there to, you know, and they can run the place without me. But I love my work. And sabi ko nga, sana magkaroon ulit ng bago pang site, and I would be the first one to volunteer. Pero nakaramdam ako na parang hindi na ako, parang iba na ang pinapagawa sa akin ng Diyos. But I didn't want to give up the service. But there's that feeling that's lingering in me, and nakikita ko rin whenever I go to the center, whenever I go to the site, to the GK site, na parang there's nothing for me to do here. Na parang yung surroundings ko, kinukonfirm lang yung feelings ko. And so I consulted a brother. Sabi ko sa kanya, "Bro, ito yung nararamdaman ko. Nafe-feel ko na parang hindi na ako para dito. Pero ayoko umalis eh. Parang gusto ko itong ginagawa ko, and I'm still willing to do it. I still want to do it." And sabi napakaganda ng ibinigay niyang advice. Sabi niya, may mga tao na full-time ngayon, pero hindi nila gustong maging full-time. At meron namang mga gustong maging full-time, pero hindi sila pinermit ni Lord na mag full-time. At meron namang mga tao na tinawag lang ng Diyos for a certain time to be a full-time. And baka baka nandun ka. Baka tinawag ka lang ng Panginoon to be full-time for a time. And maybe this time, He is calling you to a different life. And after He said that, it made parang I went into a discernment. Nag-discern ako kung ano ba ang talagang gusto ng Panginoon para sa akin, or ano ang gusto niyang gawin ko. And in my discernment, doon minayin ko na gusto ko yung work, and ayaw kong bumitaw dun sa work. But it is made clear that God wants me to do service, or to do another service, a different service. And alam niyo, sa discernment ko na nalaman ko na my next service is iwanan ng pagiging full-time and become a citizen to work on my life. And up until now, it is one of the biggest yes to a service that I ever did for the Lord. Kasi kahit ayaw kong umalis, kahit ayaw kong i-give up yung full-time work, pero dahil tinawag ako ni Lord to a different service, to a different mission, I had to say yes. Sabi ko nga if yung lungkot ng puso ko, if yung sakit na naramdaman ko nung iniwanan ko yung full-time work will give God the glory, then okay lang because He brought me, because whenever you're called to a mission, there's only one response, diba? And that is yes. And if that yes means you'll get hurt, mahihirapan ka, if that yes would mean that it would be you will be sad, but it will glorify the Lord, do it. Be obedient in your service and say yes. And so that was my greatest yes to the Lord up until today.